I'm Mark Hunter, and you found the Sales Hunter podcast. Today, we're talking about LinkedIn and social selling with none other than the king of LinkedIn and social selling, Daniel Disney. This is going to be a rather interesting conversation, and the show begins right now.
You're listening to the Sales Hunter podcast with Mark Hunter, where the focus is to help you as a sales leader sell with confidence and integrity. And now here's your host.
My guest today is Daniel Disney, and to say he is a force of nature is an understatement. No, he's a force of social media, and he makes it happen. Before we get him on the screen, I want to remind you, May 24th is Sales Logic Live. If you don't have your ticket yet for the event, hit the show notes down below because it is where we're going to be rolling out the Sales Logic system. That's with my partner, Meredith Elliott Powell. It's online and in person here in Dallas, Texas. So with that, Daniel, welcome to the show.
Mark, thank you so much for having me. I am pumped for today's conversation.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, you really are a force of nature because, I mean, you have come on the scene in the last, 5 years and just crushed it in terms of showing people how to make it happen. So first of all, let's back up the bus a little bit, because what is it that you did that allowed you to create such a strong presence on social media as rapidly as you did?
It was three key things, Mark. Number one, it was knowledge and experience. So all I've ever done is shared. I've worked in sales my entire working life. So when I started sharing content, I was just sharing what had worked for me, what was working for me. So that experience made the content credible. It was consistency. I posted consistently several times a week, didn't take a break, just kept pushing it out there. And it was creativity. It was just trying to be creative with the content, trying to educate or entertain or inspire, just give as much value as possible. And that's kind of the key for anyone who wants to start building on LinkedIn. Go out there and give value.
Hey, right there, you can end the show right there, because what Daniel, but yeah, I mean, seriously, what I love what you said is you use the word consistency, because this is the thing. So many people will jump out on social media, they'll throw some things out, and then they never come back, or they post and ghost. They post and never come back. And then other people say, well, I don't know what to say. Hey, if you've been in the business long, whatever business you're in, we happen to be in sales. There's content we can share with others, because social media is about sharing. It's about helping others. And then I love your last comment. It's about creativity, because you do have to stand out. I mean, because again, it's noisy out there. It's busy out there. Yeah.
It's very busy, and it's only getting busier. But the beautiful thing, Mark, and this is the common misconception, you don't have to be an expert to be big on LinkedIn. There are people who are just starting out in sales, SDRs, sales reps with no experience. But what they do is they share their journey. They share what's working for them, what's not working for them. And that's what LinkedIn is. It's a community. So it doesn't matter what place you are in your career, just let people get to know and follow your journey, whatever it may be. Just go out there to let people in. And again, wherever you can, give as much value as you can.
And we're talking about it from a sales perspective, but you may be leading an academic team. You may be leading, in other words, there are conversations happening on LinkedIn on every subject every day. Mm-hmm. So regardless, it's the place for you to exchange and learn. And that's what you and I both love about LinkedIn. So what have you seen in the last, we're recording this, here we are in the month of April, 2023. What are you seeing right now as the current trend with regards to social media and LinkedIn in particular?
The biggest thing I'm seeing at the moment, Mark, is this transition from personal brand to thought leader. I think in 2022, lots of people started to get personal, sharing more pictures and selfies and stories. And that's great. That was a really great first step. It helped people start to build confidence and grow on the network. Now what we're seeing, an important transition, is letting people get to know you as a person, but proving your credibility as a professional and starting to really share your knowledge and experience, or connecting your network with the right knowledge and experience to then build that confidence to give them what they need to buy from you. Because it's great being popular. It's great having followers and likes and getting lots of engagement. But if it's all just personal stuff, doesn't mean they're going to buy from you. And as salespeople like we are, Mark, that we want there to be an outcome. And that's where this professional thought leadership piece comes in.
Okay, there's so much that you said there. And I love this whole personal side, because I think coming out of COVID, we all became a little more personal, but it also allows you to be authentic, who you really are. You've posted some personal stuff, and it allows the audience to get to know you. But then you said, got to come back and post content. But now here's the whole deal. Is content always about selling, or is content just sharing?
It should be both. It should be
Both.
giving and it should be complete value to the audience. I tend to use the 80-20 rule, which is used in all areas of business and sales. But when it comes to content, I recommend 80% of your content gives value. So you're just giving advice. If I'm selling to marketing leaders, as an example, then 80% of my content will be valuable to them. Here are some top tips. Here are some latest trends or tools that you can use. But then 20% becomes promotional, becomes selling. But because you give more up front, you're more likely to get more off the back of it.
Huge there. And I love this whole idea that you got to give, because again, I see so many people thinking that they can just short circuit everything and they can connect and pitch. They can connect with you and then suddenly start selling you, and they have no idea. I mean, drives me nuts. Why?
I call it sales autopilot, and we see it in all areas of sales. And I use the analogy of the sell me this pen. You tell most salespeople to sell you the pen, and they will do that. They will try and sell you the pen, and that's what people do on LinkedIn. They connect and they pitch. You tell them to share content, they pitch. You give them any opportunity, they're just trying to sell something. But when you actually sell the pen, you don't try and sell the pen. You get to know your customer and build a relationship and have a conversation. And that's where LinkedIn works. No different to the phone, no different to email or in person. It's all about the value.
Okay, I love what you're saying here, because this brings up another point. How much time should you spend commenting on other people's posts?
It's a really good point. That's become a much bigger thing over the last sort of 12 to 18 months, where sharing content's really valuable, but actually you can get just as much value from commenting on posts. And I would recommend, it really depends on what stage you are in your sales career, prospecting, where you are in the journey. But I would typically spend between maybe 15 to 30 minutes a day commenting on posts. Some people might want to put a bit more time in if they're generating a bit more of a result. Some people might want to spend a bit less and put more focus into growing their network, sending messages, and more heavier prospecting activities. But even just commenting on 5 posts a day, which might take you 5-10 minutes max, do that consistently, can have a huge impact.
And I love what you're saying, because I think you can grow your network that way, because now you're engaging with other people. They begin seeing you, and they begin watching you. They begin pulling up your profile, et cetera, et cetera. So that leads me, I got so many questions I want to ask you here. Profiles. There's been always tons of arguments and conversations about what makes a good LinkedIn profile. That's where they pull up Daniel Disney. What's it say about Daniel Disney? What are some things you see people doing wrong, and what should we be doing when it comes to profiles?
The biggest mistake people make is they treat their profile like a CV. And it's a very understandable mistake to make. Your LinkedIn profile is built like a CV, and most people use it to get a job, which is great. That's what LinkedIn is equally very powerful for. Once you've got the job and you're working in sales, then you need to evolve your profile, because to get a job in sales, as an example, your profile needs to show how great you are at selling. But that boasting about how great you are at selling is a big turn off to customers who want to see someone who's credible. So you need to transition your profile to be a little bit less about you and your successes and more about your customers. Whilst they want to know you, they care more about what you can do for them. And if you can put that into your profile and tell them, what problems do you solve? What ROIs can you generate? What product services do you offer? How could it help them? What are the benefits? Who have you worked with? Those are the bits of information that take your profile from a salesperson getting a job profile to a salesperson targeting their customers and trying to give value, again, being the common piece. So it's that transition from CV to a profile that's going to generate business.
I love what you just said, because so many salespeople say, "Oh, I negotiated this deal. I did this."
Yeah.
And think a customer really wants to read that? I mean, like, oh, wait a minute, this is a salesperson I don't want to deal with. So you really do have to think of who can potentially buy from you. So now let's move this along here in terms of say, how do you sell on LinkedIn? Because you've got some very definitive strategies as to how you make things happen. So share with the audience a few of those.
I will share as much as I can, Mark. There are so many different ways you can sell. I think depends on all the different measurements. So if we talk about your profile, you sell from your profile by showing your customers what you can do for them. So when the right people land on your profile, they know what you do, they know how it could help them, and if they're interested, they reach out. But some of the best ways to sell are through messages, starting a conversation. And messaging on LinkedIn is the same as picking up the phone and making a cold call, but you just got to look for the right conversation starting opportunity. So let's bring this whole conversation together. Let's say you've got a good profile, and on a regular basis, you check your profile views, which you can do on LinkedIn. You can see who is viewing your profile. Well, let's say someone matches your ideal customer persona, has viewed your profile. Well, you could send them a message, and it might be, hey, Mark, thanks for viewing my profile. I'd love to know what your company's doing in the world of social selling. Kind regards, Dan. Now, because you viewed my profile, you'll feel a bit accountable to reply to me, and you might say one of two things. Actually, it's something we're looking into. Might you be able to help us? Or it might be, we've got it covered. It doesn't matter. We started a conversation. I can go back to you either way. I could say, great, let's talk about it. Or, okay, great. What are you using at the moment? What have you done in the past? We know how that pathway goes. But that's no different to picking up the phone and dialing someone. You've found an opportunity. You've started a conversation, and you can navigate it.
See, I love what you said there, because you take the message, and it isn't just one message. Mm-hmm. You send a message, you pose a question there, and then actually they're going to respond, but you keep the conversation going in the message. No different than the way we would on a phone call. No different than the way we would in normal sales, but it's keeping the conversation going. Because one of the things that I'm always trying to do is I'll message somebody, and we get a thing going, is I ultimately want to be able to take you and have it, and then take you to an offline conversation. In other words, I'm going to have a phone call with you, because you see value in me and I see value in you, and we're developing this level of trust and competence and confidence. Say, wow, let's go ahead and connect. So I love this multiple touches, because again, I get a lot of these LinkedIn messages, and it's one and done. And it's first of all, they're not focused on me. You clearly didn't even read my profile. So please, why are you sending this to me? I mean, I must get 3-4 requests a day that my profile lends itself for franchising. Have you ever looked at a future in franchising? I don't know where you get that in my profile, but let me tell you something. I get 3-4 of those messages a day from 3 or 4 bots, I should say. I don't even know if they're real people. But
there's a good experiment you could do, Mark, and maybe it's one to test out. If you go onto your profile and edit it, where you've got your name, if you put an emoji before the mark in your name and then leave it for a couple of days, every message that comes with hi emoji, you know it's a bot. Right. And it's quite surprising how many, and you don't have to do this, Mark, but I did this a few times, and it's very interesting to see just how many, because the bot can't pick up that the emoji isn't your name, so it just uses the emoji as your first name. But the worrying thing is maybe 60% of messages like that are from bots, but there is still a high percentage that are from people. And it's no different to salespeople being given a script, given a wad of numbers and asked to just dial, and they're just there, dial after dial going through. They're doing it with LinkedIn. Here's a template message, copy, paste, send, copy, paste, send, copy, paste, send. And the soul of selling comes out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Who should a person be connecting to? Who should they, because one of the things that I always get is people will sit there and say, hey, I connect with anybody and everybody. And then I run into somebody else says, no, I only connect to people I know. What's the right strategy as to who to connect with as a first level connection?
It's a sweet spot in the middle. And there is the connect with anyone and everyone. Well, that's great, but you might end up connecting with people that live in a different country, that have a small audience, and there is really zero benefit. But there is the hyper restricted, I only connect with people I know. Well, then you're never going to sell to new people. What you have to realize is, Mark, let's say you and me connect. Maybe, I'm not going to buy from you. You're not going to buy from me. Well, that's fine. But you have X amount of connections. I have X amount of connections. And anytime we interact with each other's posts, our audiences will see each other. And whilst you may never buy from me, there could be one person or several people in your network that might be a potential customer to me. So when you look at someone, don't just look at the individual. look at where they're based, how many connections they've got, what position they might be in. If I'm selling to a VP of marketing, they're going to be connected to other VPs of marketing, or they might, so it's just looking a little bit wider, but not, again, it's not two ends of the spectrum. It's that sort of sweet spot in the middle.
Okay, I'm going to encourage you to back up this audio and listen to what Daniel just shared with you, because it was absolutely gold in terms of who you connect with, because it is about expanding your circle and playing in a circle of peers, circle of friends, circle of connections, just like you would in a networking group. Now, that brings up another question, because can you actually post too much on LinkedIn? I mean, I've seen situations where sometimes I post something, man, I get a lot of feedback. I get a lot of reactions. And then at times I post something, I don't get anything. What's the right sequence? Because you mentioned right up front, consistency. What does that look like?
If you're starting, if you are new to LinkedIn, new to creating content, even just doing 1 or 2 posts a week consistently will build up the foundations. That's fine. I personally now post 1 a day, and I'll usually post between 5 or 7 days a week. So I'll do weekend posts as well. There are very few people that do more than 1 post a day and do it successfully, but it's a very risky game to play, because anytime you post more than 1 a day, you're going to be taking attention away from your previous post, and it can get a little bit sort of against the algorithm as such. So I would say anything from 1 or 2 times a week to 1 a day. I wouldn't push past 1 a day anytime soon.
Yeah. Is there a certain time of day that works best?
I get that question all the time, Mark. And you know what? A few years ago when I started on LinkedIn, there were times of the day to post, because LinkedIn used to be Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. People only used it when they were in the office working. Now people are on LinkedIn 24/7. And the best part of it is you don't have to worry about when you post. What you need to worry about is what you post. Bad content posted at the best time is still going to suck. But good content posted at any time is going to do well. Whether it's first thing Monday, last thing Friday, midday on Sunday, good content will do well at any time. So put your focus in what you post. Don't worry about when.
I had somebody say the other day that they said LinkedIn on Saturdays and Sundays becomes Facebook because it becomes more personal. And I don't know if I'm quite ready to buy into that. But it was an interesting thought. It was an interesting idea.
It's an interesting thought. I think sometimes maybe the content can become a little bit more personal, but I wouldn't say it was massive. And I've done several polls asking my audience, how they use LinkedIn at the weekend, and a very high percentage still use it to read, reply to messages, to learn, to work. So it's definitely not purely personal at the weekends. There are people having sales conversations at the weekends that obviously choose to. But yes, because it's the weekend, sometimes more personal content is a good opportunity to share more personal content and let people see what you're doing at the weekend outside of work so they can get to know you.
Yeah. Now you have a massive following, the daily sales. That is massive. You crank out some great content. But that's not Daniel Disney, right?
It's not Daniel Disney. It's not me personally.
But you post it every day out there, and it is must read. If you're listening to this and you're not following the daily sales, you better start following it, because Daniel puts some great content out there, and it's humorous, it's creative, it follows everything you said right up front. It's your knowledge, it's consistent, and it's creative. So kudos to that. Now, what about LinkedIn groups and so forth? Because it seems like every other year they become in vogue, and then they fall out of vogue, then they come back, then they fall away. What? Can't we get LinkedIn to be consistent?
I think at some point, I don't think it'll be this year, Mark, but I think next year could be the year that LinkedIn actually finally bring back groups. The biggest challenge they've had, and it's easy to compare, groups on Facebook are thriving. Groups on Facebook, and especially B2B business groups and B2C are massive on Facebook. They do it really well because groups are at the front. What LinkedIn made the mistake of is they put groups to the back. So it's really hard to get into the groups that you're part of or to get into the groups that you manage. They're not at the forefront. But what I've seen, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there have been tests over the last 6 to 12 months where LinkedIn has been putting out some polls and some questions asking, can you see this group and stuff like that. And I think they're testing some new ways to revive groups. They were massive on LinkedIn about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then they got sort of deprioritized. And I'm not complaining. LinkedIn's a great place now. But I do think LinkedIn wants to bring groups back because the engagement, the community is huge. But right now, they're kind of just there in the background. You don't need to ignore them, but I wouldn't put too much time in them just yet. I think we'll all know when LinkedIn brings them back to the front because they'll program the algorithm behind them and you'll start to see them really gain traction.
Yeah.
I think late this year, maybe early next year, hopefully we'll see that happen.
And of course, a big buzz right now is LinkedIn newsletters. Seems like everybody's got a newsletter.
Oh, huge opportunity.
Man, I see people putting out a new newsletter every day. I see them once a week. I see them once a month. Are there some tips that you would suggest to people?
Newsletters. I love newsletters, Mark, because LinkedIn's really put a lot into them to give value to you as a user. So as you know, a few of the key things, when you publish your first newsletter, every one of your connections is going to get a notification and a direct email from LinkedIn telling them about your new newsletter. Nothing in this world will give you an opportunity to have LinkedIn directly message your connections and promote your content. Huge. Not only that, it will encourage them to subscribe. And then thereafter, every time you publish a new one, everyone that's subscribed will get the notification and the email for each new edition. It is the most direct to your followers and connections that you can get with your content. Everything else, you're at the mercy of the algorithm. But with this, it's as direct as can be. And that gives you a great opportunity to get straight in front of your customers. And because it's long content, you're giving lots of value in your article, you can have a good call to action at the bottom to help convert it.
Okay, I back up again here. If you're relatively new to LinkedIn, listen to what Daniel just shared with you. You got to create a LinkedIn newsletter because it's absolutely powerful. And you're right. I mean, I love the newsletter I put out. We only put it out once a month. But it's and it's a model that works well for us. I know other people who put it out every week and even every day. Okay, for me, we've toyed with it. We might try it differently, but the idea is that it always goes out and it's absolutely consistent. So okay, so now time is moving by, but I got to ask you, who should people connect to? Because again, there's a little myth out there. You and I know the number, 30,000. 30,000 first level connections. That's all you can have. Not too many people hit that 30,000 number. So who should people be trying to connect to?
Again, goes back to what we were talking about in terms of connecting with anyone and everyone. You should connect to as many people that are going to be relevant to you. So all your target customers, and then go a bit wider. If I'm selling to VPs of marketing, well, I'll probably connect with the whole marketing team at a company. But then I might also want to connect with the person in finance, maybe some of the sales team, to multi-thread within a business. I want to connect with people in the industry, thought leaders, experts, my colleagues, my peers. You want as strong a network as possible. Yeah, there's a 30,000 limit. It's going to take most people a while. It took me several years to get to that place. And even when you get to it, I have to delete a group of people every month to connect with new customers. It's a bit of a task, but it's what you have to do. LinkedIn, the limit's there. It has its positives, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just try and grow your network with the best possible people, not thinking too blindly and only connecting with people you assume are going to be of some immediate value. Remember to open your eyes a little bit and think about the network they have, the connections they might have. Like you said, I love your example, Mark. It's just like in-person networking. I used to do that for years, and it might take months before suddenly someone you've been at this networking event for months going to becomes a customer. And you've been going back and forth having conversations, but it takes weeks or months before an actual business conversation comes into play. And LinkedIn's the same, but you want to surround yourself with the most valuable people possible.
I love what you're saying. This is a great interview. We got to wrap it up here in a second. What would you say is one thing people should do right when they get done listening to this? What should they do next on LinkedIn?
I will give you the biggest tip possible right now. Straight after you've listened to this, go into your calendar, book a time, maybe 15 to 30 minutes a day, Monday to Friday, in your calendar as a recurring meeting for the rest of this year, and have it as LinkedIn time. Have it there. It will hold you accountable. In that time, start being consistent. Add some new connections. Share a bit of content. Comment on some posts. Start doing those things on a regular basis. But having it in your calendar will help a lot of you start to be a little bit more present.
I love it. And be following Daniel Disney and the Daily Sales. because again, great content that rolls out there.
Thank
Hey,
you very much.
where else can people get in touch with you? You say, no, just go to LinkedIn. Just find me on LinkedIn. Because you've also
LinkedIn is
got
the
some
best
good
place.
books.
Oh, thank you very much. No, LinkedIn is a good place. I do have 2 books on Amazon, The Ultimate LinkedIn Sales Guide and the newest one, The Ultimate LinkedIn Messaging Guide. Those are available. And I have a website, danieldisney.online. But obviously, LinkedIn is where I'm at day in, day out, trying to help as much as possible. And if anyone has any questions about LinkedIn and social selling, please feel free to pop me a message.
Yeah, because I can never reach you by email or phone. It's always by way of LinkedIn, because that's how I reach you. So anyway, hey, this has been absolutely terrific. Daniel, thank you for being part of the show as we talk about LinkedIn and how to make it part of your social selling. And social selling doesn't have to be creepy, as Daniel just talked about here. What you've been doing is you've been listening to the Sales Center podcast. But hey, before we wrap up, May 24th, put it on your calendar. Link will be in the show notes. Meredith Elliott Powell and myself, we do the Sales Logic podcast. We're doing Sales Logic Live. We're going to roll out the Sales Logic system. This is a powerful system that companies are already using around the country. You can join us online or you can join us in person. So absolutely terrific. And with that, we want to say, hey, thank you for listening to the Sales Center podcast. Hey, please leave a review for us. Would you leave a review on your favorite podcast app? Because reviews are the best way to really share with other people. And do me another favor. Check out Sales Logic podcast. And of course, check out Daniel Disney. Hey, I'm Mark Hunter, the Sales Center. This has been the Sales Center podcast. Each week you get 2 episodes, one a short message from me, just about 5-6 minutes on a single topic, and a second one with a leading expert like we've had here today with Daniel Disney. Daniel, thank you so much. Great show.
Thanks for having me, Mark.